The monologue is about the political disadvantage of pro-life. Polls suggest that the reason Republicans fared poorly during the 2022 midterms is because of abortion. This, for example, is California Governor Gavin Newsom.
You can accuse me of many things, but not being inconsistent. Almost a year ago, I put up 20 billboards in 7 states, very specifically answering your question.
Now, Roe v. Wade has been overturned, putting the matter back to the states, where it was for all of America's history until 1973. The overturning of Roe has infuriated many female and young voters who consider, quote, access to abortion, close quote, a right. Republicans have not yet figured out a way of dealing with this political disadvantage. Pro-life people consider abortion a sin. I'm not sure you can change the mind of somebody who is pro-abortion, but maybe you can help him or her realize that we come to the debate in good faith. Dr. Martin Luther King's view on abortion, for example, is hotly debated. His niece, Reverend Alveda King, says, you know, my uncle said injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. The Negro cannot win if he's willing to sacrifice the futures of his children for immediate personal comfort and safety, end of quote. She said, that quote by Dr. King led me to say, a woman has a right to choose what she does with her body. The baby is not her body, end of quote. Alveda King also said this, and I'm quoting her, if Martin Luther King's dream is to live, our babies must live. We have been fueled by the fires of women's rights. What about the rights of the baby who is artificially breached? We cannot sit idly by and allow legal murder, end of quote. You know, it's always dicey to conclude how someone dead would think or feel today. And it's true, back in 1966, Dr. King received the Margaret Sanger Award from Planned Parenthood. His wife, Coretta Scott King, accepted the award on his behalf and read a speech written by her husband, in which she said, quoting him, like all poor, Negro and white, they have many unwanted children. There is scarcely anything more tragic in human life than a child who is not wanted. That which should be a blessing becomes a curse for the parent and child, end of quote. Now, 2 things about the quote Coretta Scott King read from her husband's speech. First, it is highly unlikely that Martin and Coretta King knew that Sanger was a eugenist who spoke at the women's branch of the KKK at Silver Lake, New Jersey. Sanger thought certain people unfit to live. Sanger said this, quote, the mass of Negroes, particularly in the South, still breed carelessly and disastrously, with the result that the increase among Negroes, even more than among whites, is from that portion of the population least intelligent and fit, end of quote. Sanger also said this, the most successful educational approach to the Negro is through a religious appeal. We do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population, and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members, end of quote. Inflation has consequences. As the Fed raises interest rates to combat out-of-control government spending, long-term bonds have diminished in value, crippling banks. Depositors are holding their breath, and investors are bailing on bank stocks. Diversification has never been more important. And the recent surge in gold prices is directly tied to the extreme market volatility right now. This is why gold has historically been a great hedge against the stock market and against inflation. Now would be a fantastic time to diversify into gold with Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold makes it easy to convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in precious metals. Here's what you need to do. Just visit LarryForGold.com to get a free info kit on gold. They'll help you convert your existing IRA or 401k that's tied to a volatile market into an IRA in physical precious metals, gold and silver. And the best part, it's tax sheltered. So visit LarryForGold.com to claim your free info kit on gold today with an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of happy customers, and countless 5-star reviews. Birch Gold is who you can trust to protect your future. Visit LarryForGold.com today. That's LarryForGold.com. Second point, Planned Parenthood at this time was publicly opposed to abortion, given that states considered it a crime. According to an article on the website of the Organization of American Historians, quote, by 1900, every state had a law forbidding abortion at any stage, whether through the use of drugs or procedures. Almost all of the laws passed during this time included a therapeutic exception where licensed physicians could provide abortions at their own discretion as long as the abortion preserved the life of the mother. While this loophole allowed many women to obtain abortions, it also made doctors the ultimate arbiters of the morality and legality of abortions. These laws also created a large black market for women who could not access or obtain abortions through medical channels. There was not much of an anti-abortion movement between 1900 and 1965 because the state did its work. Police, courts, and lawmakers prosecuted abortionists and harassed women who procured the procedure, end of quote. Abortion was illegal, and Planned Parenthood did not encourage women to break the law. Civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer, arrested in Mississippi for attempting to register blacks to vote, was pro-life. She said this, the methods used to take human lives, such as abortion, the pill, the ring, etc., amount to genocide. I believe that legal abortion is legal murder, end of quote. And in 1977, Reverend Jesse Jackson spoke at the pro-life rally in Washington, D.C., where he said, quote, there are those who argue that the right to privacy is of a higher order than the right to life. That was the premise of slavery, he said. You could not protest the existence or treatment of slaves on the plantation because that was private and therefore outside your right to be concerned. What happens, Jackson said, to the mind of a person and the moral fabric of a nation that accepts the aborting of the life of a baby without a pang of conscience? What kind of person and what kind of society, he asked, will we have in 20 years hence if life can be taken so casually, end of quote. Dr. Ralph Abernathy, upon King's assassination, succeeded him as president of the Southern Conference Leadership Coalition. Abernathy co-founded and became vice president of the American Freedom Coalition. About abortion, the AFC wrote in 1987 in its pamphlet, quote, among the values promoted by AFC are a strong national defense, opposition to abortion, and pornography, end of quote. About the sanctity of life, Gandhi wrote, it is a sin to bring forth unwanted children, but I think it is a greater sin to avoid the consequences of one's own action. It simply unmans man, end of quote. Now, like almost everyone, I love dogs. When I was a kid, I had a Cocker Spaniel and then later a German Shepherd. I don't have one now because I travel so much. Dogs need to be loved on and walked, of course. I have neighbors. One of them has a beautiful collie. It looks like Lassie. If you had such a neighbor and you were taking a walk and you heard the dog being brutally whipped, would you call 911? Would you do so even though your neighbor felt it was his dog and therefore none of your business? I think most people would still call 911. Well, if I consider abortion a sin, do you really expect me to stay out of the argument? Ask a pro-abortion person, at what point has a pregnancy gone so far that it constitutes murder? 5 minutes before birth? 10 minutes before birth? If so, does the person who refuses to answer that question consider the fate of Dr. Kermit Gosnell to be an act of injustice? Gosnell is the abortion doctor now behind bars for performing late-term abortions. Is Dr. Gosnell a political prisoner? Is he a victim of an unfair prosecution, if not persecution? Should Dr. Gosnell be released from jail? Ask the pro-abortion person those questions and then get back to me. Now, I know you like the show, so please hit that like button. Also, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get our subscriptions up. And then scroll down a little bit and get on our mailing list. That way you can make sure you don't miss any of our videos. Also, hit that donate button. Throw a little something in the tip jar. Make sure we continue giving you hard-hitting, candid, honest programming. Finally, Larry with Epoch, E-P-O-C-H, Larry with Epoch.com. I'm Larry Elder. This has been the Larry Elder Show for Epoch Times. Remember, we've got a country to save. I'll see you next time. God bless.